Unteachables, Chapter 12. Parker Elias. I kick off Spirit Week in the worst way possible by getting arrested. On Monday morning, I'm driving to pick up Grams when a police officer pulls me over because one of my tail lights is out. The problem is that he's new. When I show him my provisional license, he decides it must be fake. Before I know it, I'm sitting in the police station while the desk sergeant explains that my license is real. By the time they let me go, I'm already late. When I finally get to Grams's apartment building, she isn't waiting outside. I run upstairs and knock on her door, but nobody answers. My stomach drops. I drive around the neighborhood, hoping I'll spot her. A few minutes later, I see her walking along the main road by herself. I pull my truck alongside Graham's and call out, "Grams, get in." She doesn't even look at me. When Grams was growing up in Israel, her mother taught her never to get into a stranger's car. She's forgotten almost everything else, including my name, but somehow she still remembers that rule. I have to park farther ahead, get out, and pretend to run into her on the sidewalk. This time she recognizes me right away and is happy to see me. Honestly, I'm even happier to see her. She could have gotten on a bus or wandered somewhere far away, but she still can't remember my name. "You look skinny, kiddo," she says. "Have you been eating?" I wish she would just say, "You look skinny, Parker." I know she loves me, but it still hurts. Trying not to think about it, I offer her a ride and drive to her senior center. After dropping Grams off, I head to school. I'm already very late, but things get worse when a giant truck blocks the driveway. At first, I can't read the logo on the back. Then I realize it's an Oriental Trading truck, the company that sells huge amounts of party supplies and novelty items. Two workers are unloading giant boxes onto the school's loading dock. There aren't any labels, but there are pictures. Vuvuzelas. Hundreds of them. I immediately understand that the school has ordered enough vuvuzelas for every class except SCS8. At first I tell myself, I don't care. I never wanted a stupid vuvuzela anyway. Then I think about Mr. Kermit. He actually argued with the principal for us, even though he hates vuvuzelas more than anyone. The sound of just one drives him crazy. Now there are enough horns to make noise all week long. Mr. Kermit is going to have a miserable Spirit Week. I cut around the truck, drive across part of the lawn, and race into the parking lot. I barely scrape Mrs. Onianta's car, but I don't even stop to check the damage. I sprint through the school and burst into room 117. The rest of SCS8 is already there, although Mr. Kermit still hasn't shown up. "The vuvuzelas are coming," I gasp. Barnstorm immediately makes a joke, but I don't laugh. "This is serious," I tell them. Kiana understands right away. "Mr. Kermit is going to lose it," she says. Rahim points out that all the noise will make it impossible to rest. Aldo complains that it isn't fair for every class except ours to get vuvuzelas, even if he doesn't actually want one. Barnstorm agrees with Mr. Kermit. He says real school spirit should happen naturally, not because a principal orders everybody to celebrate. I agree. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it creates school spirit. Soon, everybody is feeling sorry for Mr. Kermit. Kiana says she wishes there was something we could do to help Mr. Kermit. Maybe there is, Mateo says. At first, nobody understands what he means. Aldo jokes about sending Mr. Kermit to the Death Star until Spirit Week is over. Mateo ignores him. Instead, he starts talking about the Grinch. The Grinch hated Christmas, so he stole all the Christmas decorations, presents, and food from Whoville. Suddenly, Barnstorm gets it. Steal the vuvuzelas? He asks. Everybody starts arguing about whether that's even possible. There are only 7 of us, and Barnstorm is on crutches. Where would we hide all those boxes? Mateo keeps talking about how the Grinch loaded everything onto a sled. That's when an idea hits me. I suddenly remember the Greenwich River beyond the athletic fields. What about the river? I ask. Kiana shakes her head. The river is too far away, and the boxes are too large. Then I realize something. I have a truck. I'll drive them, I say. The strange thing is, once I realize we could actually do it, it starts to feel like we should do it. I don't really want to steal anything, but Mr. Kermit stood up for us, and now he's about to spend a whole week surrounded by the one sound he hates most. Maybe getting rid of those vuvuzelas is exactly what the Grinch would do, and maybe that's not such a bad idea. For the first time, we seriously considered doing something straight out of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Rahim looks up from his doodling. We'll get in trouble. No kidding. If we get caught stealing more than 1,000 vuvuzelas, I can't imagine the school giving us a warning and sending us on our way. Then, surprisingly, Elaine speaks up from the back of the room. We're already in trouble, she rumbles. This class is trouble. What are they going to do? Put us here twice? Nobody has an answer to that. Kiana reaches her hand into the middle of our circle. Let's do it, she says. For Mr. Kermit. Barnstorm lowers one of his crutches on top of her hand. I'll show them what we can do with their spirit. Aldo squeezes his hand in next. Nobody tells me when I'm supposed to have school spirit. Mateo throws his hand into the pile. To infinity and beyond. One by one, the rest of us agree, even Rahim, who suddenly looks more awake than I've ever seen him. We'd better move fast, I warn. Once the custodians start opening those boxes, we're done. So the 7 of us head out. We take the long route through the school because the last person we want to run into is Mr. Kermit. Not that he'd ask where we're going, but still, it seems wrong to let him know what we're planning. The halls are crowded enough that nobody pays much attention to us as we make our way toward the loading bay. When we finally reach the storage area, Kiana peeks around the doorway. Uh-oh, she whispers. I look inside and immediately see the problem. The delivery truck is gone, but the boxes are still there. 7 giant cartons stacked near the loading dock. Unfortunately, Mr. Carstairs, one of the custodians, is standing right beside them. He has the packing slip in one hand and a half-eaten bagel in the other. Why hasn't he unpacked them yet? I whisper. Probably because he's waiting for help, Kiana answers, which means the other custodians could show up any minute. Aldo groans. Great. How are we supposed to get the boxes now? Mateo has an idea. We need a distraction, he says. What kind of distraction? Kiana asks. I could talk to him about the Silmarillion, Mateo suggests. It's the creation story for the mythology behind The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Maybe I could get him to walk away. Barnstorm stares at him. That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Before anybody can come up with something better, Elaine solves the problem herself. She calmly lifts one heavy boot and stomps as hard as she can on Barnstorm's foot. Barnstorm lets out a scream so loud it could probably compete with a room full of vuvuzelas. Mr. Carstairs immediately rushes into the hallway. Seeing the injured school sports hero doubled over in pain, he quickly helps Barnstorm toward the nurse's office. Kiana glares at Elaine. He could have pretended. Aldo grins. Not as convincingly as that. The second Mr. Carstairs disappears, we race into the loading bay. Rahim suddenly points at the boxes. Gross, he says. What's gross? I ask. It says so right here. Kiana sighs. That's not gross as in disgusting. A gross means 144. Mateo does the math immediately. That means there are 1,008 vuvuzelas, he says, looking disturbed. I thought we were only getting 1,000. Honestly, that's the least of our problems. I'll get the truck, I shout. I jump down from the loading platform and sprint to the parking lot. Once inside my pickup, I have to force myself not to speed. The whole point of this operation is to avoid attracting attention. Unfortunately, my truck isn't exactly designed for secret missions. The muffler has holes in it, which usually sounds pretty cool. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Right now, though, it sounds like a marching band announcing our arrival. I back the truck to the loading bay, and everybody starts hauling boxes. Earlier, I'd thought the cartons didn't look very heavy. I was wrong. A box containing 144 plastic horns weighs a lot more than you'd expect. Fortunately, Elaine is with us. She could probably lift the truck itself if she had to. Working together, we finally managed to load all 7 boxes. Once the truck is loaded, Kiana and Mateo climb inside with me. There isn't enough room for everyone else, so Aldo, Rahim, and Elaine have to run beside the pickup. I slowly drive around the side of the school, then ease over the curb and onto the grass near the athletic fields. This is definitely not allowed. I glance in the rearview mirror and see Elaine giving me a thumbs up. Normally, I try to avoid interacting with her whenever possible, but right now, the gesture actually makes me feel better. Because, honestly, I am terrified. Are we completely crazy? Probably. But that's not even what worries me most. What scares me is my driver's license. None of this, driving across school property, transporting stolen vuvuzelas, participating in a giant prank, is covered by a provisional license. And if my license gets revoked, I'm in serious trouble. Because if I can't drive, who will pick up Grams every morning and take her to the senior center? Suddenly, stealing 1,000 vuvuzelas doesn't seem like the biggest risk anymore.